The painted eyes. It all started when my father purchased the decrepit house at the edge of our town. It had been abandoned for years, passed down through various owners, none brave enough to renovate it. That was until my father, ever the enthusiast of the historical and hauntingly beautiful, decided it was the perfect project. I wasn't thrilled to be moving into a house known as the Eye Manor, but I was 17 and didn't have much of a choice. Legend said that the original owner had an obsession with eyes, and was rumored to have decorated each room with paintings of various eyes. Sounds made up, right? Well, I wish it were. On our first day, as we wandered through the dust-covered rooms, it became evident the legends were rooted in fact. Each room, without exception, had at least one painting of eyes. They ranged from realistic to abstract, from human to animal, each pair more unsettling than the last. What disturbed me most was the sensation that they were watching. When I shifted position, I felt their gaze follow, an illusion I told myself. On our third night, an inexplicable incident happened. My room, the only one without an eye painting, felt safe. However, I woke up that night feeling watched. In the dim light, I could make out a fresh painting on the opposite wall, a pair of eyes unlike any others in the house. They were eerily lifelike, and I swear they blinked. Petrified, I turned on the lamp. The painting was gone. Just an empty wall staring back. I dismissed it as a half-asleep hallucination. But as days turned into weeks, the phenomenon persisted. Every night, I'd wake to see those eyes, always blinking just once before vanishing when illuminated. I finally confided in my father. Expecting skepticism, I was surprised when he went pale. He recalled the exact legend I feared. The original owner, obsessed with eyes, was not content with just paintings. He wanted the eyes to truly see. Rumors had it he turned to dark arts, making a pact to infuse the eyes with life. The price? His own eyesight. One night, after completing his most lifelike painting, he was found blind, babbling about eyes that blinked in the dark. The very eyes that now appeared in my room. Determined to end this, my father and I scoured the house for the original painting, hoping to destroy it and break the curse, but it was nowhere to be found. Desperate, we contacted a local medium. She was an old, frail lady, her eyes clouded with age, but her presence was commanding. As she entered, the temperature seemed to drop. She walked the house, stopping in my room. "They watch, they see," she murmured. "He gave them sight, but they crave more." As night fell, she sat in my room, lighting candles and chanting incantations. Hours passed in eerie silence, broken only by her rhythmic chants. Then, suddenly, she stopped, pointing to the wall opposite my bed. The eyes had appeared, but they were not alone. A shadowy figure, almost human, emerged, with the eyes in its face. It seemed to float, the eyes fixated on us, blinking slowly. The medium began to speak to it, her voice firm. "Why do you torment this family?" The figure's voice was a whisper, yet filled the room. "We see, but we wish to feel, to be free." After a tense exchange, the medium turned to us. "The eyes," she explained, "are trapped souls given sight but not life. They are bound to this house, yearning for freedom." The solution was heartbreaking. They needed a new host, someone willing to trade places. The medium, citing her old age and proximity to the other side, volunteered. We protested, but she was adamant. The ritual was a blur. Chants, candles, and shadows dancing on walls. Hours felt like minutes, and when dawn broke, the house felt lighter. The eyes were gone. So was the medium. All that remained in the room was a new painting of a frail old lady, her cloudy eyes forever immortalized on canvas. From that day on, my room remained untouched, a shrine to the woman who saved us. We sold the house soon after, ensuring the story of its past remained hidden. But sometimes when I close my eyes at night, I see them, those painted eyes, blinking in the darkness, a haunting reminder of the souls that once watched, yearning for freedom. The Whispers of Wrenwood. Our town lies at the foot of Wrenwood Forest, a dense, dark expanse that everyone's taught to avoid from childhood. Legends spoke of an old village deep within, abandoned for centuries, with inhabitants long forgotten. Yet they whispered of one thing: The statue. One summer during a dare among friends, I found myself at the forest's edge. The aim was simple: find the old village, touch the statue, and return by nightfall. The trees grew thick, making it almost night even at noon. As I ventured deeper, a heavy fog began to rise, and soon I was walking through a world half seen. The forest seemed to hum, each tree whispering secrets to its neighbor. Hours later, I stumbled upon the village. Decrepit houses lined a cobblestone square. In the center stood the statue, a figure draped in a cloak, its face concealed by a hood, with one hand extended as if beckoning. Before it, a plaque read, "To those who seek, listen, and you shall find." Curious, I stepped closer and felt an odd compulsion to lean in. As I did, I heard it, a whisper. It was soft, like the rustling of leaves, but very much human. "Help me!" Startled, I retreated. The whisper grew louder, turning into a chorus of voices, each pleading, crying, and screaming in agony. Panicking, I ran. The fog grew denser, the voices louder. Every turn I took, I ended up back at the statue, its extended hand now seeming more like a trap than a beckon. "Stay." Dread filled me. The sun was setting and darkness encroached. Desperation gave me an idea. I picked up a rock and hurled it at the statue. It cracked, silencing the voices momentarily. But then, from the fissure, a black shadowy mist began to emerge, swirling and taking the form of tormented faces. I realized then, the statue wasn't just a figure. It was a prison, holding trapped souls, and I had just set them free. Horrified, I tried to run again, but the shadows were quicker. They circled me, their touch cold and suffocating. Each time they passed through me, I heard their lives, felt their pain, and shared their doom. I don't know how long it lasted, but suddenly, a ray of moonlight pierced the fog. A clear path emerged, leading me out of the village and away from the shadows. I sprinted, not looking back, until I was out of Wrenwood and back among my friends who had given up the search and were about to call for help. They listened in horror to my tale, and we decided then never to venture near Wrenwood again. Yet every night since, I hear them, the whispers. They thank me, curse me, and beckon me. And sometimes in the dead of night, I'll look outside my window and see the statue, hand extended, waiting. Echoes of the Lake. Our town was nestled between rolling hills, but its main attraction was Lake Morel. Beautiful and vast, it was the place for summer fun. But no one ventured near it after sundown, because of the legends that surrounded it. My group of friends, however, were skeptics by nature. To us, the tales about the lake were just stories parents told their children to keep them from sneaking out at night. As summer came to an end, we decided to challenge the myths. We'd camp beside Lake Morel overnight. It was a clear evening when we set out, tents, marshmallows and all. We reached the lake, set up camp, and soon were roasting marshmallows over an open fire. The vast expanse of the lake stretched out before us, its surface still, reflecting the night sky. But as the night deepened, a dense fog rolled in. By midnight, visibility dropped to mere feet. The five of us huddled around the campfire, our earlier bravado replaced by an unsettling anxiety. That's when we heard it. A faint melodic humming echoing across the lake. It grew louder, and within moments it sounded as if the source was right beside us, though no one was in sight. The humming soon became a song, a soft, sorrowful lullaby sung in a language none of us recognized. The lyrics, though foreign, felt sad and haunting. From the fog emerged a figure, a woman in a flowing white dress, her feet barely touching the ground. Her eyes were hollow and her skin was an ashen hue. She moved towards the lake, her voice echoing its mournful tune. Transfixed, we watched as she walked into the lake, the water enveloping her. But instead of sinking, she seemed to dissolve into it, the fog swallowing her form. Silence descended, broken only by the sounds of our own frantic breathing. We packed our belongings and fled. By morning, we reconvened, trying to make sense of the apparition. A search through the town's records led us to a tragic story from 50 years prior. A young woman named Lila had been heartbroken when her lover had left for war and never returned. Unable to bear the grief, She'd walked into Lake Morel singing their favorite lullaby. She was never seen again. Realizing we'd witnessed Lila's spirit, we decided to find a way to put her to rest. Research led us to an old ritual to free trapped spirits. We returned to the lake the following night, equipped with white candles and a vintage locket containing a picture of Lila and her lover, a keepsake we'd found in the town archives. As midnight approached, the fog returned. We placed the candles in a circle and kept the locket in the center. As we chanted the verses of the ritual, the temperature dropped, and Lila's melodic lullaby filled the air. The waters of the lake began to churn, and from its depths, Lila emerged, her form more solid, her gaze fixed on the locket. The ritual's final step required a sacrifice, a personal belonging from each of us, symbolizing memories, dreams, and emotions. We placed them around the locket. As we did, Lila's form began to glow, the sorrow in her eyes replaced with gratitude. With one final glance, she touched the locket. A blinding light engulfed the area, and when it subsided, both Lila and the fog were gone. We left the lake feeling a mix of relief and sadness. But the story doesn't end there. The next morning, we woke up to find that our memories of the past year had vanished. The personal sacrifices had taken away a year from each of our lives. Today we remain close friends, bound by that night. But we always warn the young ones in our town of the true price of meddling with the unknown. For while we freed Lila's spirit, a part of us will forever echo with the haunting melody of her song and the year we lost to Lake Morel. The Crimson Locket. There's an old rite of passage in my town that most outsiders wouldn't know about. When a child turns 16, they're sent to the heart of our forest for a night, alone. It's a tradition dating back centuries. Bravery, they call it. Foolishness, I call it now. My turn came 2 summers ago. I remember feeling a mix of excitement and dread. Equipped with just a flashlight, a blanket, and the town's locket. A beautiful old piece, silver with a ruby in the center. I was left at the edge of the forest. The locket, they said, would keep me safe. All I needed to do was wear it and return it the next morning. The forest was alive with whispers that night. Wind rustled through leaves, animals moved stealthily, and distant owls hooted. I found a clearing to settle down, wrapping the blanket around me. Hours passed. The darkness was thick, pressing in from all sides. Just when I felt a sense of calm, a voice broke the stillness, a whisper barely audible. "Return it," it whispered. Startled, I looked around. Nothing, just the dense expanse of trees. I clutched the locket, reminding myself it was just my imagination, but then it came again, closer. "Return it," it whispered again. Panicking, I turned on the flashlight, its beam cutting through the black. That's when I saw them. Figures, half-transparent, floating above the ground, their faces twisted in agony. The beam of light seemed to deter them, so I held onto it tightly. Yet they circled, inching closer, their whispers growing louder. "Return it!" Confused and terrified, I shouted, "Return what?" One of the figures, more defined than the others, moved forward. A woman, her face pale and eyes hollow, pointed towards the locket. "That was mine," she hissed. "Return it, or join us." The realization hit me. The town's cherished locket. It didn't keep the spirits at bay. It attracted them. The ruby wasn't just a stone. It held something darker, a force binding these spirits to the forest. Desperation and adrenaline kicked in. I tore the locket from my neck and hurled it towards the spirits. Instantly, the forest was filled with a blinding light, and an ear-piercing scream echoed. When it subsided, both the spirits and the locket were gone. I spent the remainder of the night huddled in fear, and when dawn broke, I raced out, vowing never to return. The town was in uproar when I told them of the night's events. Many dismissed it as a trick of the mind, while others whispered about the past's sins. Turns out the locket once belonged to a woman accused of witchcraft. When the town had her executed, they took her locket, which was said to contain her essence. Every year, by sending a child into the forest, the town unknowingly fed her spirit, ensuring she remained trapped. The council, after much debate, decided to end the tradition. The price of the past was deemed too high. Years have passed since that night. The forest remains untouched, its depths unexplored. Yet on some nights, if you listen closely, you can hear a distant whisper, a call, a plea. "Return it," it whispers. Beneath the Lullaby. As children, my sister Lena and I were inseparable. Our favorite activity was exploring the woods behind our house. However, as all children are warned about the depths of forests in bedtime tales, there was one rule: never wander after sunset. One autumn day, as evening shadows crept in, we discovered a dilapidated hut. Its roof was half caved, windows shattered. But what caught our attention was a soft lullaby, mesmerizing, alluring. Without a second thought, we followed the tune to the hut's entrance. The song was emanating from the basement. A rickety staircase led downward, and with every step the lullaby became clearer, more enchanting. And then we saw her, a woman, or what seemed like one. Her skin was ghostly pale, her hair as black as a raven, and she held a rusted box that produced the lullaby. Our presence startled her. "Lost, are we?" she crooned, her voice as melodic as the song. Lena, always braver, replied, "We heard the music and—" "Ah, the lullaby," she interrupted, her fingers caressing the box. "It has the power to heal or curse. Would you like to try?" We exchanged nervous glances. The air grew colder, the room darker. But the lullaby had its claws deep in our minds, and we nodded. She handed the box to Lena. "Turn the handle. Think of your deepest desire, but beware. The lullaby demands a price." Lena hesitated for a moment, then began turning the handle. The room filled with the same haunting tune, and I watched in horror as Lena's vibrant blue eyes turned milky white. She let out a scream, dropping the box. The woman laughed, a sound chilling to the bone. "The lullaby always demands its price." I grabbed Lena's hand, and we bolted up the stairs and out of the hut. We didn't stop until we reached our home. But Lena was no longer the same. She became withdrawn, barely speaking, her once brilliant eyes now clouded. Days turned to weeks, and one fateful night, the lullaby returned, floating in through the window. Drawn to it, Lena wandered back into the woods with me tailing her. She went straight to the hut, and as I peeked in, I saw the woman holding the box. "You've returned," she hissed, her gaze fixed on me. "But the lullaby doesn't forget." With newfound courage, I stepped forward. "Reverse the curse," I demanded. She smirked. "Everything has a price." "Name it." She handed me the box. "Play the lullaby, think of your wish, but know this, it will claim something dear." I thought of Lena, her laughter, her spirit. Taking a deep breath, I turned the handle. The room was awash with its melody. A sharp pain coursed through me, and suddenly I was blind. Darkness everywhere. But amidst that darkness, I heard Lena. "I'm here," she whispered. Our sight was the price we'd paid. The world turned silent, devoid of the lullaby's haunting tune. We relied on each other, two souls lost in darkness, but bound by love. Years passed. The story of the cursed lullaby became a legend, a campfire tale. But for us, it was a chilling reminder of the price of curiosity. And sometimes on cold, windless nights, if you listen closely, you can still hear the faint strains of a lullaby echoing from the woods, beckoning the next wanderer.